Our program last year and our program now and what will be in the spring would not have happened without the participation and leadership of one person, and that's Attorney Angelo Papa. Angelo's Substance Abuse Coalition Summits is a sponsor of these kinds of things, and at this point I'll turn it over to him, Attorney Papa.
A couple ground rules so that you know what's going to happen. Every bit of this is real life. These are held to the standards of law, and everything that happens throughout this proceeding will be which replicates what normally happens. Before you get to a jury trial, you have a preliminary hearing, and that's so very important for you to get that. The latest statistics out, okay? The latest statistics out indicate that arrests for driving under the influence appear to be dropping in the country, and that's good news. It really is. However, it is rising between the ages of 16 and 25, and that's mostly because of college and high school students. So not only is it drugs, it's drugs and alcohol. The one thing we fail to make the connection sometimes is that when a person stops doing drugs, he or she will almost always immediately go to alcohol, and then the alcohol will lead them back to drugs. There's an old saying as a defense attorney when you're standing in front of a judge, Your Honor, this is an argument I make all the time. I don't believe for a minute that a person can quit drinking and driving until they can quit drinking. Because it's only a matter of time when you have keys and you have consumed alcohol and you no longer have the accurate judgment, the discipline to recognize that you're about to get behind the wheel of 4,000 pounds of rolling metal on four wheels and make it among other people who are texting, who are impaired, who are driving normally. All of those things increase the odds for tragedy in our schools. So, that said, that's why we are now going into the second annual, and it's about drugs and alcohol, emphasis both, and our trial patterns its facts accordingly. Lastly, I want to make sure that you're aware that this thing is real life and it's serious. It will, unless both of these gentlemen are dismissed today, it will result in a trial in March 28th in this gym. We want you to know what the trial is about in March, so we decided to add this preliminary hearing issue up front. And so, when we get to the end, we will have our drug summit, which is a full jury trial, and on Saturday, educators, doctors, and lawyers teaching each other to work together on our substance abuse problem. I love standing in a Catholic high school, and I'm not timid to quote Isaiah 1.18. And Isaiah 1.18 says, "Come now, let us reason together." So let's reason together and see what real life could happen to you in this next video. Are we ready to go?
Hey man, I saw your car broke down. Do you need a ride? Alright, dude, hop in the car.
Courtesy of driver's license, registration, insurance, please. The reason I'm stopping you today is because I observed your vehicle cross over the center line back there 3 different times. I noticed that your eyes are glassy and an odor of alcohol coming from your vehicle. Would you step out of the vehicle for me, please? You step right over here to the side of the road. What we're going to do here is I'm going to conduct field
How you doing
sobriety
tonight?
test,
Good, how are you?
okay?
Good. What's your name?
I'm gonna
Matt.
show
You have any ID on you, Matt?
sobriety test. Once I perform that test and show you how to do it, I want you
Thank
to
you.
perform the test for me, okay?
Where are you coming from tonight?
My car broke down in the parking lot down the street, and I got a ride with my
Put
friend.
your arms straight out. You
Okay.
just tilt your head backwards and close your eyes, okay?
What have you been drinking
right
tonight?
Hand or left hand. I'm going to tell you to do that. I want you to
Not
take
that you know.
your right hand.
How long you
left
been
hand,
with him?
Touch the tip of your nose and hold it there until I tell you to release it. When I tell you to release it, you release it, bring it back out. Okay? Then stand your feet together, arms straight out. Right. Release it. Left. Release. Okay, go ahead and put your hands down. So take a step back here, a couple steps for me so we have some room, okay? But you just take an imaginary line here, okay? And watch what I do. I want you to walk heel to toe and count each step as you do it. And heel to toe and take 6 steps and count out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I want you to turn around and take 6 steps back to where you were at, okay? Go ahead and begin.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, go ahead, put your hands up here on top of the car for me, please. All right, sir, at this time you're under arrest for suspicion of driving under the influence of alcohol. Also for underage drinking. Other hand. Okay, turn around for me here, please, and just, you can lean right here for me, all right?
Sir.
This time I'm going to read you your Miranda warnings. I wish to advise you that you have the absolute right to remain silent, that anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, that you have a right to talk to an attorney before and have an attorney present with you during questioning, that if you cannot afford to hire an attorney, one will be appointed to represent you without charge before any questioning if you so desire. And if you decide to answer any questions, you may stop at any time you wish. Do you understand your rights?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you give us consent to search your vehicle?
I mean, it's not my car.
It's not your car?
No, I don't. Do I have to have my mom? Just call my mom. You can ask her.
Have you been drinking tonight?
A little bit.
A little bit? Okay. Would you give us consent to search your vehicle?
I don't know if my mom would want that or not. I mean,
Okay.
I guess it's okay.
Well, I need you to tell me yes or no if you give us consent to search your vehicle.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Matt, why don't you step out of the car? Go ahead and put your hands up here on top of the car. You don't have any weapons or anything on you that's going to hurt me, do you?
Nope.
You got a cell phone there?
Yep.
Listen, you're not under arrest or anything right now, but for my safety, I just want to, I'm going to cuff you up here, all right? Why don't you come back here and stand with my partner for a minute? Huh?
It's not even my car, sir.
What?
It's my mom's boyfriend's car. It's not mine.
Not yours. What about you?
It's not mine. Like I said, I just got into his car.
Is that right?
Sure it's not yours? Yeah, I'm sure. Okay.
This was under your seat, passenger. Matt, you know I said earlier that I was just detaining you for my safety. Well, now you're under arrest.
For what?
Clearly for that.
But it's not mine.
It doesn't matter. You're in the vehicle, he's in the vehicle. In fact, both of you are going to get charged with possession of narcotics, possession with intent to deliver narcotics, and conspiracy to do the same.
Really?
All right?
But I'm a senior. I'm going to college next year. I didn't do anything. Dude, how are you going to go to college?
I don't care. Let's go.
And because they've been arrested now, they come to a preliminary hearing, and this is standard real life. Today will determine whether or not the charges are dismissed or whether they are bound over to court, and today will determine whether either of them have bond or have to go to jail today.
District Court's in session regarding the Commonwealth versus Mr. Doe and Mr. Smith. The court recognizes Ms. Gilkey representing the Commonwealth, Mr. Booker, and Counselor. Well, it's the decision of the court at this time, after listening to testimony, that all charges against Mr. Doe and Mr. Smith are being held to the next term of the Court of Common Pleas. I will advise you that you will be receiving notices, both of you, of your arraignment notices. Those arraignment notices will be handed to you prior to leaving court today, and they'll be scheduled for within a 60-day period. In regards to bail, Mr. Booker for Mr. Doe, I'm placing him on a $5,000 unsecured bail with the conditions that he not allowed to drink any alcoholic beverages, and $5,000 unsecured, Mr. Doe, means as long as you show up for your preliminary hearing, for your next court appearance, you will not have to post any money. If you fail to show up, it'll cost you $5,000 to be released from any county jail or any jail once apprehended. In regards to Mr. Smith, Counselor, and due to the severity of the charges, and I believe there was a very large amount of heroin that was obtained from this vehicle. There was motions admitted by Officer Moyer, seeing motions in the front seat. I'm holding his charges to court, and I'm having Mr. Smith either post or setting bail at $250,000 straight, which means, Mr. Smith, if you cannot post $250,000 straight, you're going to be lodged in Mercer County Jail until that bail is posted or your bail is reduced by a common pleas court judge. I'm keeping bail at $250,000 straight, and if you wish to object to that, you have to take that in front of common pleas for bail reduction. Are there any other comments? No. Officer Moyer, please take Mr. Smith into custody. With that stated, if there are no other comments, we're adjourned in this matter. Good luck to you both, gentlemen.
Now, at this point in time, the preliminary hearing would be over, okay? And what does that mean? Again, this is real life. Because of the bond set, and Your Honor, was that a realistic bond in light of these facts?
With a kilo of heroin, yes.
Okay, so that means that this young man, until somebody posts that bond for him, will literally stay in prison until the case is tried. And sometimes, counselors, what are we thinking? How long does it take to get the case on a trial list, usually? Months? 3 or 4 months? Yeah, 3 or 4 months he would literally be in jail, and he may very well be innocent from the accident of being with the wrong person at the wrong time. That's real life. So the message we're trying to get across to you, and we'll do the rest of it physiologically at the Drug Summit, is the choice you make right now, this very weekend, could determine whether or not you're in jail. And guess what? That's a lucky result. What about the other people who are in 4,000 pounds of rolling metal with someone who is impaired and get killed in a head-on car crash? It can be that fast. When we talked to you the last time we were here for our summit, we talked to you in light of talking to the leaders, not only talking to people. In the school population, our desire is to reactively save as many of you that we may have lost or deviated a little bit, and proactively prevent those of you from making that one mistake, being with the wrong person at the wrong time. And my challenge to you as a former teacher and administrator and student, just like you, and I spent a few days in an assistant principal's office on my own. I know what it's like to be in trouble. I am begging you, those of you who are the leaders, and you know who you are, you know if you're looked up to, be looked up to for doing the right thing. When is somebody going to surface and be a leader because they are doing what is right and making that cool? Because it is. Because this young man is going to spend a lot of time in jail and may very well be innocent. Now, that said, I'm going to go back to our preliminary hearing, and I'm going to ask the magistrate a few questions, if I could, Your Honor, so that we could help these kids, and then we'll get a chance to you address them. Your Honor, there's a couple points of law going on in here. Did you notice the blood alcohol in our driver was what?
0.07.
0.07. Okay, why is that significant?
As a juvenile or somebody as an adult under the age of 21, if your blood alcohol is a 0.02 or higher, it can be used against you for drunk driving. As an adult, you have to be at least 0.08 for that to be used, unless there are other conditions or other testimony present that can be used in court.
So 0.02 is very slight.
Very slight.
So put that in your brain. Secondly, he was underage, was he not?
Correct.
What does that mean?
If he's underage, then the 0.07 blood alcohol comes into effect because it's over the 0.02.
And what about the suspension, even if he weren't driving?
With that, he's going to lose his license possibly for 90 days or 6 months, depending on the sentencing judge, depending on any prior criminal, or not criminal history, but driver history.
So even if he were not driving, he would lose his driver's license minimum 90 days.
That's correct.
Okay? These are things that are going on here that are very subtle. Now, with regard to the passenger theorizes, probably, that that's not my stuff. If a jury believes or disbelieves that's not his stuff, is that enough to sustain a guilty verdict?
If the jury believes it, yes.
And what do we know about constructive possession rather than possession? Possession meaning it would be easy if it was in his pocket.
That's correct.
Okay, but it wasn't in his pocket, it was under his seat. Is that where the phrase constructive possession comes into play?
Yes.
And what does that mean for the children?
That means that where he was seated, if you heard the testimony, there was testimony about some type of furtive movements in the car by not only the driver but the passenger. Now, constructive possession is where the passenger was seated and where the alleged narcotic was found, right beneath where the passenger was seated.
And so again, that would be enough if a jury believes it or does not believe his alibi or excuse to convict him, correct? Okay, and then we also have another little nuance called conspiracy law. And when I was in law school, I probably a lot longer ago than you were, but we used to call conspiracy the prosecutor's darling. Do they still do that? They don't. Figures. Anyway, they called it the prosecutor's darling when I was in law school. The prosecutor has to lock people up. A person can conspire and be just as guilty as the person who actually did it, correct?
It holds the same grading, that's correct. Same punishment.
And it's even better than that. There is called a doctrine called tacit agreement, right, counselors? A tacit agreement is generally no oral agreement at all. So if I'm sitting next to somebody and he reasonably believes that we're working together to take this stuff somewhere, if a jury believes that, I have tacitly, however silently, agreed to accommodate him and be an accomplice to this crime for that felony conviction, correct? So again, one accident in time. Now, lastly, I want to turn it over on this segment of our program to Judge Antos, who has agreed to help us and talk to us about binding over a preliminary hearing.
I'm not telling you don't drink or don't do drugs. That's your business. I would suggest not to. But I'll leave this with you. If you have to ingest something to have a good time, you better look in the mirror. And this hits hard. If you have to drink or drop something or smoke something to go out and live your life, you better look in the mirror, because there's a lot of other things that can bring you joy and happiness besides sticking something in your mouth. Me, I have an issue with Hershey bars. But I want you to understand that. If you have to ingest things to have a good time, you better look in the mirror. And that hits home, because it just doesn't stop with you. It can be at home. It can be a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, an aunt or an uncle, grandpa, grandma. I've seen it in my career. All I can suggest to you is make right decisions. You learn this while you're in school and by your own peers. If you have somebody that says, here, do this or swallow this or take this or do that, remember the old adage, ladies and gentlemen, you run with dogs, you'll catch fleas. Make good choices.
A couple other very important points. We're seeing more now, Your Honor, are we not? People being DUI under the influence of drugs. So, you know, you might have this concept that if I don't drink and drive, it's legal. It is not. And we also have combinations of people who are drinking and doing drugs while they drive. Those numbers are rising in the latest statistics from SAMHSA. And those are all very important. So it's also very easy to end up with drugs in your body if somebody put them in a drink or something. Very important to understand that people have the goofiest concepts of practical jokes sometimes, or any other misguided desire to put something in something that they offer you to drink or something like that. And also on the concept of the preliminary hearing, again, going back, I want to make sure I bring this point home. The magistrate is prevented by law, basically, from passing upon the credibility. Even if he didn't believe the police officer, generally speaking, you're required by law to believe him, correct?
That's correct. As a matter of fact, I've just investigated that. If something was so egregious, so far-fetched, in speaking with the individuals that I have spoken to in regards to counsel, along with other judges, I would just dismiss the case. Now that is if the testimony was so far outlandish that it was broad daylight and the individual said it was midnight. I mean, it would have to be so outlandish, so egregious to the defendant that basically I would. But I cannot question the credibility of a witness. Not allowed to. Again.
So that means, Your Honor, does it not, that this person must stand trial?
Correct.
And he must post bond in that particular case?
Right, unless defense counsel files a motion for habeas corpus to have some legal reason.
It's going downtown.
It's going down, right?
where the courthouse is. What will happen at the drug summit in March is that in the morning you will have the entire jury trial. In the afternoon at lunchtime for 2 hours we will have our, again if the snow doesn't get us like last year, our moment of silence for any police officer, first responder, or child who has passed away or died anywhere in the country. We'll have a moment of silence after the national anthem for them in our opening ceremony. And then in the afternoon, we will have Dr. Neil Capretta, Chief of Staff, Gateway Rehabilitation Center, is one of the finest addiction physicians in the country. And then the second day, we will have doctors, lawyers, and teachers come and teach. And while you're having fun on Saturday, they'll be getting their professional credits. That happens on Friday and Saturday. And we have a distinguished member of the judicial system / drug system, Amy J. KLUMP, who is from Mahoning County. She's the director of the Mahoning County Adult Drug Court situation over in Mahoning County. As you well know, we can go to the Southern Park Mall with the blink of an eye, but we're across the jurisdiction. She was paying very close attention to some of the nuances in our law, and probably paying attention to the magistrate too, because you people have municipal judges that would do what Magistrate Antos just did, right? Okay. County municipal judges, and I've been in a couple of those courtrooms on Pro Hoc Vici in the past. Anyway, gives me a distinguished pleasure to introduce to you Amy J. KLUMP, MSED, LSW, Mahoning County Adult Drug Court Coordinator, and she's been in this business for a lot longer than I have. Youngstown State University, Miami University, Bachelor of Arts in Science, professional associations too lengthy to mention. Amy, would you please come and tell us what Ohio is thinking about what we're doing? When Amy gets here to the podium, what we're trying to do is have your drug summit be multi-state and multi-county in addition to multi-profession, and we were hoping that we will have some similar programs in the Ohio school systems, and then you can send a delegation of teachers or students to come there. And again, let's go back to Isaiah. Come now, let us reason together. When we work together, we can do things. But she has a wealth of experiences that she would share with you, and I'll turn the podium over to you at this time.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you doing today? Now, what grades do we have? How old are you guys? Like fifth, sixth? How old are you guys? Junior, senior? You guys are all high school? Okay. Do you guys have a law class? No? Okay. One of the things they were talking a lot about common pleas courts, and I think sometimes that gets confusing. Do you guys know what the difference between a misdemeanor and a felony is? What's a misdemeanor? Less than a year. That was very good. Someone knew that very well. Okay, so a misdemeanor is a lesser crime, okay? And a felony is a greater crime. So what you saw today is two guys who were charged with potential felony crime that is going to get bound over to the common pleas court. In Youngstown, Ohio, where I work, we have both a misdemeanor drug court and a felony drug court. And what drug courts are, basically, they're called problem-solving courts. And we have a number of them in Mahoning County. Our misdemeanor court is in the county courts. They are on the lower level, and the people from the county courts can come into them. On the higher level, they can come in with felonies. They cannot come in if they have any crimes of violence, any crimes of weapons charges, any domestic violence, pattern of domestic violence, crimes against kids. So pedophiles and child molesters and that kind of stuff can't come in. And they can't be trafficking in drugs. So all of those people can't come in. We're looking for people who are committing crimes because of an addiction versus criminals who happen to use drugs. See the difference? A little bit of a difference, okay? One of the drug courts are problem-solving courts because in Ohio, and I'm sure Pennsylvania is in the same situation, we have more people than we can stand in our prisons. We're at about 160% capacity. They are triple bunking both the boys and the girls in our prison system. So in Ohio, what they've done is they said, we've got to do something about all these people in prison. And so what they're trying to do is get people that have mental health problems, drug problems. We've got a juvenile treatment court. We have a court for families whose parents use and their kids are taken away from them because of their drug use. So all these kind of problem-solving courts to divert people from going to jail and prison. Okay, and that's what a drug court does. So lower-level felonies, which theft, misuse of a credit card, possession of heroin, possession of cocaine, possessions of larger amounts of marijuana may be felony charges, but they're charges that they can come into the court on, okay? They also could come in on theft, all sorts of different stuff like that. I think one of the things that we see in Ohio is, and it's become a nationwide trend, there are more deaths now because of overdoses than there are deaths because of car accidents. Did you hear what I said? There's more people overdosing right now than there are people getting killed in car accidents. And that's crazy. And if I was coming in to talk to you guys, the older kids here, we'd be talking a whole heck of a lot about prescription drugs. Because that is a huge, it's become the gateway drug. Pot isn't even a gateway drug anymore. A lot of kids use it, but a lot of kids are starting right away with pills. So one of the missions that we have as a drug court is to educate the community about what's going on. And one of the things that I liked about what I was hearing today, I don't like to come in and say, you know, don't do this, don't do that. I think as Attorney Papa said, or as the magistrate said, we can't make the decisions for you. We can inform you, and that's what we can provide you, is information, and then you take that information and do with it what you're going to do. Our mission is to educate community leaders, to educate schools, talk to kids. I've been in 2 schools this week. We bring kids down to the court to see what happens. My court right now has about 50% of it is 18 to 28-year-olds, and most of them are addicted to heroin. And most of them have put a needle in their arm. Who would never, ever, 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 ever put a needle in their arm? Okay, I mean do it yourself. The issue, I hate to say it, but yes you would. If you get into an addiction bad enough, there are certain things that you're going to do that you'd think you'd never would do. But I think the biggest thing, and what we talk to our people about in the court, and I think what's really important for you guys is what are your people, places, and things? Who are you hanging around? Where are you going? And what kind of things are you doing? My daughter is 18 years old, almost 19. She's in her freshman year at Youngstown State. She has some friends that she hung around with in school, and I was always preaching to them. Make sure, if you're at a basketball court somewhere, and you guys decide you're going to go from this court to another court, you best know who you're getting in a car with. Okay? Because if they happen to have something like that, or a gun in their car, just by being in the car, you get implicated into that stuff. So you need to know who you're with, what they're about, what they're willing to do. Wouldn't it be a bummer if you stopped at a Circle K and they went in and robbed the place and you're sitting in the car with them? You're implicated in that. And you become as eligible for charges as they are, okay? So we talk a lot about people, places, and things. I love to talk to schools. I could come in and talk to you forever about different things. You guys have so much potential, and your choices are so stinking important. But I'll leave you with one story about one young lady. My judge is Judge John M. Durkin. He's a common pleas court judge or a felony court judge. He had an opportunity to have a death penalty case in front of him. So I'd never seen a death penalty case. I thought that would be interesting. I went over. And what it was a young lady who was 18 years old who went over to her boyfriend's house to pick him up, and he wasn't there. But some of his buddies were there. And they said, hey, we know where he's at. We'll take you over to him. So she said, okay, get in the car, 3 guys. She didn't know them very well. She knew them by sight, but she lets them get in the car. And they smoke some pot, and then these guys take her down to a park, and 2 out of the 3 of them rape her. And after that, they said, I will be more genteel with the language. They said, well, we screwed her. We're going to have to kill her. and they took her to a lake, and they put 8 shotgun blasts to her head and 10 shotgun blasts to her body. And that was her last bad choice, was letting 3 guys she kind of knew into her car. So your choices are enormous. They make everything, every choice you make has good possibilities and bad possibilities. I think your teachers, your administrators, everyone here cares about you and wants you to see wonderful things, that your potential, your greatness that you can have. So I just encourage you to make the best choices. Listen to the information. Use it. Put it in the brains God gave you. Okay? And hopefully that'll come to fruition. When a choice faces you, you make the best one. So I wish you all good luck. I'll see you in the spring.